Hi, I'm Allison McNamara. For today's DIY, we're taking inspiration from Louis Vuitton Spring Runway and putting a checker print all over our black bag. Let's get started. Here's what you'll need: a black structured bag, white acrylic paint and a paintbrush, tape, and Mod Podge. So what we're gonna do for this DIY is section off with our tape different checks, paint it with our acrylic paint to really capture that print that we saw on the runways. Celebrities have been wearing this in full effect, like Miranda Kerr, Jessica Alba, and Kerry Washington. But an easier way to incorporate this trend is with accessories, and I think the bag is a really fun option. So I got my bag. I'm going to take my tape. I'm using this thin tape because it's what I had here, but really any width will do. So the first thing is to section off one long straight line across the top. So one thing that's really important while you're doing this DIY is to make sure that each piece of tape is really pressed down to the bag, because if it's not, the paint will seep underneath the tape and we won't have a straight line, which we do not want. Now we're going to create our first check. To make your checker print pattern, use vertical and horizontal pieces of tape. So I've got my first check ready to be painted. Now the reason why we're doing our checks one at a time is because to create that true checker print pattern, we really need to make sure that these corners line up and the tape blocks that. So we have to do one check at a time. Take my acrylic paint and I'm going to paint my first check. Now while this is drying, before I peel off the tape, I'm going to do the second check on the opposite side. That way I make sure that they're totally in line. And now we're going to paint the second check. We have our two top checks painted. They don't need to be completely dry, but you do want to let them dry for about 5 minutes before you peel the tape off. So now it's time to pull off the tape, just the vertical ones. Look how straight that line is. Do the same thing with this secondary piece of tape. And again, the final one I'm taking off right now. Here's where it gets a little tricky. We need to put a piece of tape right in between these two checks to seal this off so we can create a center check. But the thing you need to do is not get any of the tape on the white check, so I suggest using some scissors to make it really accurate. Once your tape is in place, it's time to paint the middle check. This one is a little bit harder, so just make sure that your stencil is perfectly in place before you paint. This is it. We're down to the final two checks that are ready to be painted. The moment of truth, the last two checks, it's time to peel off that tape. Our pattern looks so good, but one final step to keep it looking as glossy and pretty as it does now is to add a layer of Mod Podge to all the white checks, just to coat it and seal it. Once your Mod Podge is dry, your bag is ready to use. I am so happy with how this DIY came out. It hits that checker print trend, which is huge for spring. It's easy to do, and it's really fun to wear. I hope you guys enjoyed today's DIY, and make sure to come back here to Popsugar Fashion for a lot more. I'm Allison McNamara, and thanks for watching.